I'll take the logistical questions.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent, thank you. I'm gonna unmute until it's time to talk. I mean, I'm gonna mute and then, you know what I mean?
Great.
All right, go ahead, Giselle.
All right. Oh, yeah, there you go, Giselle. Yeah.
Dean Richard Shaw, thank you. And I just wanted to thank everyone for joining today's session. We're very truly honored to welcome Dr. Alice Petty and Dean Richard Shaw. Dr. Alice Petty is the Undergraduate Advising Director Advising. Dr. Alice Petty earned a BA from Hampshire College and holds a PhD in Near Eastern Studies from the Johns Hopkins University with a focus on archaeology and secondary concentrations in Akkadian and Egyptology. She first joined VPUE, the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education, as a postdoctoral fellow for the Introduction to Humanities program in 2007, where she was a postdoctoral teaching fellow. She also served on the teaching teams for Humans and Machines, World Archaeology and Global Heritage, and Inventing Classics. Alice joined advising in 2011 and has served as the academic director in Wilbur Hall, director of pre-major advising, and director of the Stanford Newcomer Guide program. She is currently the undergraduate advising director and program coordinator for transfer advising. Dr. Petty supports Stanford's transfer students once they have been offered admission to Stanford, helping them make informed decisions about their education. She works with Stanford students individually throughout the summer prior to enrollment as they navigate for the transfer credit assessment process. And Dean Shaw is the Stanford Dean of Undergraduate Admissions and Financial Aid at Stanford University. Richard H. Shaw began his tenure at Stanford's Dean of Admission and Financial Aid as of September 1st, 2005. Dean Shaw led Yale's undergraduate admissions and financial aid office from 1993 through 2005. Prior to joining Yale, Shaw served as director of admissions at the University of Michigan from 1988 to 1993, associate director of admissions and records at the University of California, Berkeley from 83 to 88, and in various admission and resident positions at the University of Colorado Boulder from 72 to 81. He is a member and has served in leadership positions for several national admission groups, including the College Board, American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Administration Officers, and the Consortium on Financing Higher Education and National Association of College Admissions and Counselors. Of course, again, I'd like to thank our audience for joining us, and with an enthusiastic heart and great honor, please join me in welcoming Dean Richard Shaw and Dr. Alice Petty.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. This is very exciting, and Alice has given me the go-ahead to start with you all. And I know there are a lot of folks out there, and I'm excited, and I'm sort of trying to figure out what time zones you're in, and more importantly, why anybody on a Friday afternoon would want to come watch us on a Zoom meeting. But I'm thrilled you're there, and I know you care deeply about your future, and you're trying to make plans, and that's all very exciting. Really appreciate the PreMed program inviting us. I think this is a conversation broadly and deeply about the next stage in your life, and I'm excited to try to be a part of that and representing the university. It's I know it's very special, and you're all on anybody that's pre-med in my book is pretty serious. Because I mean, I took a few of those courses, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll go on and do something else, like major in history. but good for you all. And of course, this is preliminary to health sciences, and of all sorts. And, if there are some specific questions about that, in a little while, we'll turn to Alice, who is an incredible expert. And I didn't know she had that background, and it's absolutely fascinating. So I'd like to talk about archaeology. No, I won't. Okay, we won't talk about archaeology. So, but thank you to Jobin Ashfar, who has been nice enough to invite me here, and I have a good sense that they're doing an incredible job with PreMed CC to give you incredible speakers, because even people you talk to from Stanford, I can't get to. The faculty in the medical school I saw, and actually a good friend of mine is the dean of the medical school. So I saw that he's come before you as well. But bravo to you all for wanting to pursue the career you're interested in. This is an honorable objective to want to make this transition to college, and it's really important. You've made commitments at the places that you are. You're all in different places along the way. I have a sneaking suspicion a few of you may have applied this year for Stanford, and then I know there are a lot of you that are planning your sort of next steps. And the first thing that I really want to emphasize is that you're going to be looking at lots of options. And there isn't any one place in the world that is absolutely the only and right place. And you need to keep your horizons wide open and the breadth wide open as you think about. Pre-med is everywhere, and pursuing medicine or nursing or any number of the health professions can be done in so many incredible places, certainly including the great public universities. And many of you are probably involved in pursuing or engaged in articulation agreements, which leads you from the community college into the public sector. And that's great. A lot of the courses you're taking probably are perfectly appropriate for that. And I think will lead you to a good place. Alice I'm so thrilled she's here, because she really has the expertise and understands to a great extent and spends a lot of time with transfers and who are making the transition to Stanford. So in a little while, we'll be wide open for her to also be responding to your questions. For those that are really looking at this, it's important to review your options, as I've said, and keep on your educational trajectory. You are where you are now, and you are interested in this, and you are in this association. But I'm a person who realizes that life takes twists and turns. So some of my comments may have to do with pre-med, but really more of it is just about going on and realizing that you're going to have a lot of options. You're going to have a lot of things to think about. I know when transfers come here, as Alice will tell you for sure, they say, I'm hell-bent on something. And then they start to see, they start to get some access to, you mean there's that, and there's that, and there's interdisciplinary this and that, and all of a sudden there can be some shift in terms of what they pursue. So I don't ever think that students need to be fully formed or fully understand what their or what their possibilities are. So you're in the midst of determining educational next steps, and it's really important to review your options. But turning to Stanford, okay, I've been avoiding Stanford here for a while, so I'll quit doing that. We certainly have a transfer program, and Alice knows it's one of my favorite groups at Stanford. I love the transfers. I love everything about them. I'm amazed at who they are. And they're an incredible community here, and they make significant contributions to the campus, to each other, to other undergraduates. Some are I'll tell you in a minute a little more about who they are, but they become very much a part of the institution, and I've never seen more enthusiasm. Because often folks are coming from different perspectives or different places, and they're very, very excited about the opportunities they have ahead, and actually are a little bit, in some cases, maybe a little bit more better formed in terms of what they hope to accomplish in their lives. We truly celebrate them, and I know that this is a perspective that is, because I have to be honest, in the same breath that I'm saying this, I want to also say it's very competitive. It is the reality that it's very competitive to get into places like this. But on the other hand, you should never dismiss your dreams, and you should always go for it by doing the kind of planning that you're doing now. So you should know that about interestingly, of the students we admit to Stanford, about 60% of them are community college students. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, that's exciting. I have a major commitment to community college students because once in my former life, actually it was when I was at Berkeley and at Colorado, I acted as an articulation officer. And I also was involved in creating the first articulation agreements in the University of California system. And by the way, all the dates you just heard, just dismiss those because I'm not really that old. I think there were mistakes there. I think I've...
You started when you were 3.
Seems like, I mean, we're using dates that nobody on this thing were born. So that's kind of, that's problematic, but that's okay. But 60% are successful in getting into Stanford. We have a major commitment to community college students in community colleges. And I thought within that cohort, because it's a large percentage of the class, about 20% of the students that are admitted as transfer students are veterans of the armed services. And in fact, we partner in our work, if there are vets out there in this audience, with Service to School, which is a really cool organization that has incredible mentoring, and then also with Vet Link. So we collect information, and we have some wonderful former military staff that are here now who've all gotten to know Alice, which is great. And in this year's, just to give you an idea, in this year's transfer class, we have students from 52 colleges. So no, we're not just in California, we're from all over the United States, and have students applying to us that are interested in, at least I thought maybe they were slightly interested in staying in California or moving to California because of the weather, but now I'm going to get rid of the weather thing because we haven't had very good weather. So but the truth is that it's nice that we are attractive to so many. Our transfer students come to us, a part of the other part of it, which is interesting, just to give you more of this breadth, is the age range is 19, last year, 19 to 44. So you're going to get a sense. There's no typical anything here. It's and maybe it's not unlike community colleges where there's a lot of variability, and that's exciting as well. So they come with many, many different perspectives, and transfer students bring with them I'm just really amazed when you hear their stories. I wish we could put a panel up here because
we do. It's May 6th. We have 4 students that are gonna, so far 4 are gonna be speaking.
That's so. Are they from here or just elsewhere? All over the place.
Yeah, 2 of them are from California and 2 of them from out of state, and 2 of them are veterans.
Yeah. So this, this is their perspective is broad, and they're broad and deep and diverse, with diverse life experiences. I still remember the 2 rock stars we took over the years, who are former rock. They were very successful, and they said, "Nope, I'm going on into higher education," and they went back to community college, got the coursework, and moved here. I think pre-Alice, but pretty exciting. And they bring really amazing life perspectives to the place. And this makes for a really robust and interesting and compelling community. So every year when I meet them, I'm pretty excited. So in planning your Stanford application, just for those that haven't done this already, the deadline is March 15th. So that's a ways down the line. And a lot of you are in your first year, or you're thinking about this and in the right place, getting good advice. And we are really very heavily and deeply into the review right now. We're in it. We're all in, and all of the admissions officers are reviewing files now. Every student gets a complete and full read, and we go. We're going to go into committee in April, late April, and then we'll release our decisions May 15th. Just give you a sense of because there are lots of different deadlines. You got to pay attention to them wherever you're looking, because we're pretty tough with our deadlines. So that sort of gives you a sense of it. And again, the process is competitive. That's the last time I'll say it, but but I just want you to be aware, and that like any process, you're going to have good options, I'm sure, at the end of the process. My key message is just don't stop, keep going, move on, and take advantage of the options that you finally have. But you'll find that we do, unlike so many schools, we really don't prescribe absolutes in defining how you get ready. It's a little bit different, because when you look at articulation agreements with public schools, they have a chart, and you do this and all of these things, and you're going to be admitted. We're a little bit more open-ended, although you need to pay attention to the concept of pre-med. I'll get back to that in a minute, but you do have some courses that may be important for you as you prepare for the idea of moving on into a career in the health sciences. But that being said, we generally, should importantly engage academic courses, academic transferable courses in the community colleges. And one of the hard things is, and we see this, is that all of a sudden somebody's taking classes and then they take a turn. And they might take a turn into courses that might provide certification for some kind of a career, or might have just something that's really interesting to you. That's fine. But the reality is, if you're interested in making this change and moving on into higher education, you really have to be very conscious of the fact that we're really interested in courses that transfer, particularly at the lower division. So, and Alice will come back to this, but that is, you're preparing. You're getting ready ultimately for the opportunity to begin talking about what you might want to do, where you want to place your emphasis, where you want to declare a major, and that's important. I mean, we're asking that of you. We know that there's going to be a period of discovery after arrival, but the truth is, we really, we hope that you have some sense that you have interest in the humanities, social sciences, or the natural sciences, and you're taking coursework that also is sort of aligns with what our breadth requirements look like. So I'll leave it to Alice here in a minute, maybe if she wants to come back and comment on that. But we're looking for that kind of, we're looking for academic courses. That's important. And hopefully you are preparing and navigating towards a major. Most of the members there, again, are, this is the name of your nonprofit has something, keeps telling me the story that you're interested in health sciences. So, and that's fine. But there are going to be certain courses that probably are going to make you better prepared to take the next step, because medical schools, gosh, health sciences sort of are interested in people that might have taken chemistry or biology or any, are engaged in a number of different areas as they've prepared for moving on to graduate school. But the reality is that you can do that. You can even major in those areas, or you can major in English. And that's the interesting part of this. But if you do that and you love that, and that's what you want to do, you still got to be involved in the pre-med track. You've got to be ready. And what I see is sometimes students get all the way to the other end and they go, whoops, I didn't do all the stuff I need to do. And then they have to take another year. They may even graduate, but take a year and start taking other courses that make more sense before they take, entrance exams for these programs. So it's nice to know, though, that you can major anywhere, but still keep in mind that you're on a certain track towards a certain graduate program. And along the way, and I shouldn't say this to this organization, but you might change your mind. And that's the nature of what liberal arts is all about. It's all right to change your mind and to move in different directions. So it's kind of important to get some sense of transfer credit, what that means, and to review what expectations are and what might fit. Alice, again, I'm putting a lot of pressure on Alice. But I think in some cases courses will, in some cases courses won't. And, you just have to be willing to navigate this process. It's not as definitive in our case than it is in perhaps the public sector and in schools where there are articulation agreements. So it's nice to know that if you're very serious about doing something, how the credit is going to take its course. I will say this, and I think it's important. We really, in our applicant pool, those that are most competitive are going to have accumulated 2 years of coursework, and that there'll be some prevalence, and I'll probably reiterate this again, but some prevalence of courses in the now and in the recent past, so that we can see progress that's sooner. And by that we mean that when they transfer, they've finished the 2 years and probably got an associate's degree at the 2-year colleges, and then we'll be looking at them. But there's some preference for that in terms of reviewing our candidacies. And we read, I reiterate, we read all applications from cover to cover. So and everything that is attached to it. So what's interesting about Stanford is it's not just that, though. It's not just the transcripts, and it's not just test scores. And I'll mention that again. I'll just throw out two words that might be of interest to you, called test optional, and we'll come back to that. But it isn't. The academic record is foundational, for sure. But it's not just about that in terms of what we review. So we engage in a holistic process, and we are interested in hearing about who you are. And so our application is known to be ridiculously long, and not for the meek, because there's we ask a lot of questions and because we are interested in who you are. So you're going to be providing demographic information and responding to a whole bunch of essays and short questions in the application. And you're going to be asking faculty at your college to help provide support, which we're going to look at, and also other college officials who will write in good standing and write things that sort of help us understand where you are. And, and your own self-commentary, you're going to talk a little bit about your involvement in the college if you're there, but also through your essays, we're going to learn a lot more about, what takes up your time. What does your life trajectory look like? Where have you been and what have you done? And are you working part-time? Do you have a family? All of these things, or are you part of the honors program at the community college, or so forth and so on? Lots of, and it goes in every conceivable direction. And for transfers, we even have, which is great, we have an incredible arts community here. So we even give you an opportunity to submit a portfolio if you want to do that. And it's not because we want you to major in art practice, but rather, if you want to share your skills, we have music and creative arts, and you can send that in, and that'll be a factor we look at as well. Your supplemental recommendations, it can also come from other people. And I know I say that because I just went into one and looked at it. I'm preparing for you, and I saw a wonderful recommendation from a commanding officer. So you just get the idea, and people are doing lots of things. This happened to be a vet that I randomly picked out of the pool, and that was a supplemental rec, but certainly it's and you can determine who that might be in your life, and there's room for that as well. So all of your academic work, so this comes up, all of your academic work is required. This sometimes we get a lot of questions saying, can I just dismiss the high school record? Which I understand, that's fine. But remember, we don't emphasize that. But we do want high school records, K-12 or equivalency exams like the GED or whatever the case may be. And then we want all of your transcripts, because often transfers may have gone to 2 community colleges, or went to a 4-year school and then back to a community college, or whatever the case may be. But we just want to see all your records, and so you're required to send those in. So we have a strong preference for students applying with the aggregate. So I'm going to come back to aggregate records of 2 years. So, but certainly with hopefully a prevalence in the later year. This coming cycle, I said it and I'll say it again, that is this coming cycle. So for anybody that's applying next year, you're lucky if you think you are, but we don't require tests, the SAT or ACT. We have in the past, but we are test optional. So that is not a requirement. And in the future, just read our website. We'll see what we're going to do after that year. But certainly, for those that want to submit them, great. And for those that don't, you have that option. You'll have the opportunity to respond to questions in the app that reflect your academic and intellectual interest. You have 3 options you can pick. Well, I talked about majors, but you get 3 choices. This is my first, my second, my third, and that's actually for this cohort. I think that's important. We'd like to see perhaps what your academic intellectual interest might be, and then, for example, you might. I've already talked about the pre-med, but you might reflect English, but that you're interested in pre-med, and so that or other majors as well. So joining our expectation, we hope you have some sense of direction. It is important. That helps us a little bit. Although Alice will tell you again, once you get into the Willy Wonka's, none of you remember Willy Wonka, but his chocolate factory, it's you start having a lot of options and choices, and it gets very, very exciting. Coming back to the review, our review is holistic. I hope you understand we're not just in one place at one time. It means we're going well beyond the transcripts and test scores. And we're trying to get some sense of the context of your own life. We care about that. And so you're going to be responding to those sorts of questions, and also sharing with us your life trajectory. What does it look like? Where were you? Where are you come? Why are you here? What do you want? And our enrolling students, boy, the breadth of their experiences is just so cool. I guess that's why I like them, because it's like reading a really good collection of short stories. and that's pretty exciting. But your voice matters. It really matters. That is, so when you sit back to think about completing an application, reflect. Don't take it. It's not perfunctory. We want you to sit back and contemplate the responses to the questions, and to bring your absolute authentic self to the process. This is an opportunity for a little bit of autobiography, and I think that's very, very important. So some of the questions, just for examples, some of the questions we ask. So I share with you, which are: please provide a statement that addresses the reasons for transferring and the objectives you hope to achieve. It means you have to make some decisions about your life, or at least, give us some sense of it. Or what piece of advice would you share with your younger self? Think about your whole life and then go, what would I have told myself as I take my life experience? What would I've, and share that with us. Describe what experiences led you to this understanding. So what did, because I love the responses to this, because people really, you sit back and think about it. Oh, if I'd only if somebody had only told me this, or if I could have known it at the time. And then here's a really very definitive question that just absolutely, there's such a simple black and white answer. What matters to you and why? Sure. There you go. So we're asking you to, to share who you are. And we're going to tie that into where you've been, and tie that into how you've done, and reasons why you might not have done so well back there, but that you're knocking the ball out of the park right now. Because we're human, right? We're absolutely human. And in that way, we have to understand that not everybody is perfect, or has the perfect record, or anything else, that in fact there's a lot of variability, and sometimes second times around, and sometimes third. So so your perspective and your desires and your are really, really important. So no formula here. You're going to walk away from this thing and say, he didn't tell me a damn thing. I don't know. There's no absolutes. It's at the end of the day, the only reason I've done this for what seems to be 400 years, having been introduced with all those dates, is that I know there are going to be options. You have options now, you're going to have options later. And, this isn't the end of, admissions, there's various outcomes, but you just need to keep pursuing who you want to be, and how you, and the options you can take in order to get there, because that's the critical component. You're completely in charge. And you should know that. We're going to do the very best we can to be as fair as we can. And you just need to know there's a lot of candidates, and we're going to try to make the best fit. And I think the process, I'm often written by students who weren't successful, and they go, I just really appreciate the process. I was happy to be part of that. It made a difference. It made me sort of sit back and reflect, and hopefully that you'll see that as being more of a positive than a negative. This shouldn't be trauma. a traumatizing experience going through this. You just say, this is part of what I'm going to try to do and what I'm going to try to accomplish. So I really applaud you for being part of this, pre-med CC. I think that's cool because look what it does. It brings, now it's the number I had when I first started said, oh yeah, we have 22,000 people involved, and we have a whole bunch on this call, and that's very exciting. Although guess what? After you're done here, you can go out. It's Friday. And have fun somewhere. So the other thing is, and I don't even know if I should say this because it's just such incredible news, and that is one thing we care deeply about is affordability. So this is we just. This is gonna blow your mind, blows my mind every time I say it. But if you make $100,000 or less, you can come to Stanford for free, basically. That is full tuition, full room and board. We also have lots of programs that might augment it. You have GI benefits, things like that. We have yellow ribbon. We got all kinds of stuff, but that's mind-boggling. And I won't even tell you what the top end cost is here because it's too shocking. But if the income either of you or of your family is 150,000 or less, it's free tuition. So between 100 and then we graduated up. So it's pretty hard to beat. but don't let affordability be the issue because it isn't. If you're admitted to the university, we have incredibly generous financial aid policies. So I'm going to quit there. I've started to ramble, so I'm going to then turn to Alice and just see if she heard anything where she wants to say, nah, that wasn't quite right, or whatever, or wants to provide any comment. And if not, we have a few questions I understand out there.
Dean Shaw, can you just answer this one? A lot of people are asking numbers like what's the percentage, what's the GPA, some people that have heard me before say, and I have your permission to share this data, that 100% of people that don't apply don't get in. So
that's right. And I have a policy, and you're going to hate me for this, but I don't share admission statistics. Because what's the point? All I can say to you is okay, I'll go this far. It's in the single digits. That's how hard it is to get in. But I don't, that's the most discouraging number on earth, which is admissions, statistics to highly competitive schools. The philosophy is if you don't try, you'll never know. And it really has to do, though, when you make the decision, it has to do with everything I've said, which is, you've got to be you have to be competitive in a lot of fronts. You have to be successful in your most recent, particularly in your most recent community college experiences. So, if your life story is compelling, and coming back around again is just stunning. Those things we pay attention to, but it's hard to get in, so that's about as close as I can get to an answer.
Yeah, no, we get this almost every single week. Every dean of admission we have, that's what's the percentage, and it's like I come up with this as, you will get 100% rejection if you don't apply. So
yeah, I love that because I think that's right. And again, that's why I said in the beginning, you need to have breadth. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's the nature of a democracy. You're able to apply to different places, and that's a good thing because you're going to hopefully you'll be successful in finding a good transition. All of these places are great.
And Dr. Fire actually spoke last year, and he said that when he applied to Stanford as an undergraduate, he didn't get in. So He went and won the Nobel Prize as a faculty. So
yeah. No, that's exactly right. No, I've heard that from another Nobel too. He didn't get in either. So that's yeah. So yeah, it doesn't mean you can't have an incredibly successful life, which is this isn't it really isn't the golden ticket. It is you're the golden ticket. You're the one that will make it happen.
And this is another one that's multiple. It's been posted again after even you mentioned it. So the basically under $100,000. It doesn't matter if you are international student, DACA.
Good question.
Because a lot of people are asking either DACA, international students, F1, F7. I don't know. Like, so can you just?
Yeah. Well, and
if you're a community college student, does that count as well?
Yeah. Let me make two comments. One is we are need blind for all domestic U.S. citizens and permanent residents. We are need blind for undocumented DACA students. We are need aware for international students. So we can't claim to be need blind because we can't do it. We don't have but we have a lot of international students who are on aid, but we're not fully need blind. So the answer is it's for international students who want full aid, who are maintaining their citizenship. It's unbelievably competitive because we have people from, just to give you an example, not the transfer pool, but if you put transfer with freshmen together, we have about 82 countries coming in every year. So you can get a sense of, boy, this is really, really competitive. And so it isn't, that aid is not some international students won't make it. But if we admit you to Stanford as an international student, and you've told us that you need funding, that is, you say to us, and the application gives you that opportunity. I'm an international student and I need need-based aid, and you're admitted, then we meet your full demonstrated need.
Right. Yeah. And then a lot of people are asking about medical school admissions. I put the link of the 2 talks Dr. Gibbs has given, which is Dean Shaw's counterpart at the medical school. So, and then again, yes, the threshold 150,000 is for family and individual, right?
150,000 is the family income. So, and if you're independent, then that's you. But if you have parents, then that's the cutoff. 150,000, 100,000 is full ride. Right. And let me just, I feel like we ought to ask Alice, if she wants to make a few comments on PreMed, or just to say, this is, give an observation, because I think that is important. Yep, she's looking.
Sorry, I had to find my cursor to unmute myself. Thank you. That was really interesting. I thought, you covered a lot of material, Dean Shaw. So I can certainly say a few words of advice for community college students who are interested in applying to Stanford, things about what we recommend for coursework prior to getting here, which is not to say that there's a hard and fast path, but there are some things that you can do that might make your experience a little bit better. Would that be like, I'll just talk for a few minutes. Somebody signal if it's time for me to stop. If you want to come to Stanford with the ultimate goal of going to medical school, know that we do not have a pre-med major. You can major, as Dean Shaw said, in anything. We do have courses that we recommend if you are planning on taking the MCAT and applying to med school. And I think this is the same as every college in the country. And it's 2 years chemistry with lab, 1 year biology with lab, 1 year physics with lab. The more math you can take, the better. Take as much math as you can before coming here. Because math is important for the MCAT, but more importantly, math is the intellectual scaffolding for advanced chemistry. So you give yourself a huge advantage in your chemistry coursework if you have the math. And by the math, I mean calculus, my friends. Sorry. So that would be my piece one of advice. Second, take things that you love and that reflect your intellectual interests. Know that you're better off taking general classes, a class like general chemistry, than something like an introductory class, which may be too elementary. A general class is good. My personal advice, if you are applying as a transfer student to Stanford, you are not required to have 1 year of foreign language, but Stanford does have a language requirement, and the language requirement is robust. It's a full year of university level foreign language study. That means 5 units per quarter, 3 quarters. It takes up a lot of real estate on your schedule. So I would recommend studying a foreign language if you are not already bilingual. Stanford does recognize the accomplishments of heritage speakers, so everyone has an opportunity to take a placement exam. The other aspect of that, of course, is simply that foreign language study expands your awareness of the world that you live in, and it's good for your brain. So foreign language is a great thing to study. I saw a lot of questions in the charts in the Q&A column about other things that you can bring to the table. For pre-med, clinical experience, volunteer, work at a clinic. Stanford has a ton of clinical opportunities for our pre-med students. So you can work at the VA. We have a relationship with Stanford Free Clinics. There's opportunities to shadow med school faculty at our med school. The other thing you can do is Stanford really stresses research for undergrads. So once admitted, there are a ton of research opportunities for our undergrads at Stanford. And that is another thing that can really assist with the med school application process. Like I said, you can major in anything if you're pre-med. Just hit that pre-med coursework so that you're prepared for the MCAT. I have a little list here because I wanted to be able to share this with you. You can do any major. The really popular ones for pre-med students are biology, human biology, anthropology with a concentration in medical anthropology or archaeology. So looking at the relationship between the human body and the past, or culture and the human body. Comparative studies in race and ethnicity has several tracks where you can look at things like racial disparities in healthcare or poverty and inequality and the way that impacts healthcare and medical research. Same with feminist gender and sexuality studies, which we abbreviate as FemGen-Sex here, where you're looking at gender and sexuality and healthcare disparities. There are concentrations that you can do there. That's very popular. Bioengineering is really popular with our engineering mindset students who are also looking at med school. Biomechanical engineering is very popular with those students. We have a design major that's quite popular with pre-med students. I've seen students do classics and go to med school. So there's a range of stuff that you can do and incorporate that pre-med coursework. I think that's about it. I think those are the things that I want to have. Stanford has great resources for our pre-med students. We have, I am the undergraduate advising director. I manage our transfer advising program, but we do have pre-med advisors on staff, academic advisors who specialize in med school preparation, in the MCAT, and in the application process. We do things like coaching for med school interviews, preparing for the MCAT, working on your portfolio. We do have clinical opportunities at our local clinics, but we also, our overseas program has a great, I think it's like 4 weeks maybe, program where you can volunteer at a clinic in Oaxaca, Mexico, if you're interested in working on the border, or you're interested in working with people on the border, or you're interested in that sort of international clinic experience. We also, there's a lot of research opportunities at Stanford, and we encourage our pre-med students to get some experience with research while they're here. Either sort of social research on behavior that impacts health outcomes, or get yourself into a lab and study stem cells or biochemistry or cancer diagnoses or pain management, the chemistry of pain management. I'm just thinking off the top of my head where all my students are doing research. But there's a ton of experiences there. That's just like the tip of, I'm happy to take questions if that's where we want to go next. There's a lot of great questions in the field. So
I think Sebastian has one question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course. So our first question is, does Stanford accept online courses for transfer credit? Because I'm aware a lot of private universities do not.
Rick, you want to take this one?
I think you better, because it's part of but the answer is sometimes. It just depends. It depends on the strength and nature of the online program. You know, if it's a fully accredited program and with a full course syllabus and so forth, then yes, the answer would be we'd take that as just a part of the application. But yeah,
a lot of us during COVID that was the only option available.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no question. And, there are a lot of great online programs and we just need to have a sense of their accreditation and that they're good. And yeah, we accept that credit. The question becomes, and I think maybe Alice is good, but one of the questions is, if you take a course, does it meet the expectation of the department? Or in other words, and that's where Stanford it can be pretty draconian. We can be pretty tough. So, I don't know, Alice, if you want to take it a little bit further, but give them a little hit.
Okay. I can give you this actually connects to a question I saw several times in the Q&A, which is, how do you know if your classes will apply to the major? Do we have one of those agreements where your classes will transfer automatically? There are two stages to having your academic credit assessed at Stanford. The first is you send in your transcripts. They go to the office of the registrar at Stanford University, and they spend a great deal of time going through your transcript line by line. They have multiple databases that they use, and we will determine whether that coursework can transfer into Stanford. In order for your coursework to be accepted, it must be from an accredited college or university, and it needs to be applicable to a terminal degree. So most community college courses are good so far, and it must overlap in terms of content with one of our classes, 60% or more. So that's the first step. Transfer students can move in up to 90 units of academic credit. In order to earn a degree from Stanford, you must earn at least 180 units, which means the most you can transfer in is half of your degree. That is the first part. The second part is every Stanford student must declare a major. Your coursework being accepted by Stanford, those units are general units towards graduation. They count towards that 180. It is up to each individual department. They will determine whether your transferred coursework will apply to the major. And most Stanford departments want you to do your core requirements in the major at Stanford. They want your Stanford degree, the heart of it, your major, to be made up of Stanford courses. So this can be challenging. For example, if you earn, I'm just going to give you a case study. If you earn an associate's degree in psychology, you may be very disappointed to see that not much of your psychology coursework can count towards a psychology major at Stanford. That can be tricky. So a lot of what I do is I work with students like that to think, well, what can you apply this psychology to? Or how do you do the psychology major? Perhaps by you can use your community college coursework or your transferred coursework as electives within the major, but you're going to have to do the core with us. And off the top of my head, psychology, biology, philosophy, communications, economics, these departments really like philosophy. These departments really like you to do your major coursework at Stanford, which is, I think, one might be very well served. Again, we don't like prescribe your coursework, but one might be very well served by focusing on STEM, focusing on skills, challenging yourself and taking rigorous courses and preparing yourself to succeed. Don't try, it's not to your advantage to try too hard to get ahead in a major at Stanford. It just may not apply the way you think it might. I hope that wasn't too discouraging.
And I mentioned earlier, it's about preparation. It's about creating the process. So any course you take is going to be valuable because it's going to help you as you meet the expectations of the particular course that you might take here. But the problem is we get to this point where we go, they absolutely have to be the concurrent. They have to be, congruent. They have to be, and we don't do that. I mean, that's what you're hearing. Yeah. But when you leave Stanford, you will be, along with the work that you've done in community college, you're going to be incredibly well educated.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. That's what we want.
This is a question that actually comes up quite a bit in our other sections too, but this is a couple questions people are asking. Does Stanford want you to take a heavy semester, like 20 plus unit credit, to show that you could handle that rigor? And can you answer that?
No. That you mean in the community college?
Right. Just to say that.
No. No. We're not looking to see if you can get it. We don't want community college or anywhere else to be a war zone where you're getting shot at. No, just be, a full-time. Again, it's good that when students, and there are reasons sometimes they aren't. So we know that too. But if you can be in a full-time curriculum, which in accordance with the school you attend, that's fine. And, if you're progressing this year and then this year, that's fine. In some cases, we see families that are community college students who are working full-time. So they're taking it fall 2 courses, spring 2 courses, summer 2 courses. They're taking it over a little bit longer time. And that's okay too. I mean, they're giving it their best shot. We don't want... We have students here that do that too, and I just don't know what's wrong with them. Their brains are, they take, the number of units they take is just shocking. I don't even know. I guess they want to leave early. I don't know what they're doing.
No, I think the thing is we've seen them too with medical school, but it's just that, and this is kind of the myth out there, is that you take a lot of classes to show that you can handle the rigor, but the same person that's trying to do that is working 25 hours a week and is providing childcare for her younger siblings.
Right. No. I don't know where that is. That's a myth, and it's sad. In any medical school, for example, that would say that's really what we're looking at, or anybody else, they're sick.
You don't want to.
They need to go.
You want to go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another question. People are asking, should they do any special programs like honors? Actually, this is actually another question for Dean Shaw, and I call it the secret sauce, but a lot of people are asking, what is that secret sauce to get in as a transfer? What is that one thing they have to do that you want to see everybody do it, and that's like the automatic admission? I call it the secret sauce, but can you?
Yeah, it's my favorite sauce, which they've taken off the market, is habanero. There was this wonderful thing called habanero, and it was Whole30 compliant and all the rest, and it's gone. So that's the only sauce I thought was secret. So that's the question that comes up all the time. It's if you want to call it secret sauce or you want to call it formula. What's the formula? And I'm sorry. If I were flying a spaceship, I'd crash because we really just want individuals to be authentic, to do what they love, to go for it full time, to be successful. And there's no way I can tell you, because the variability is in the applicant pool is so stunning. There just is no, you can't stereotype transfer. You can't do it. They're so different. Everybody is just coming from different perspectives, but hard work, someone who has dreams and aspirations that wants to go on and accomplish, something in their academic and intellectual life. It's the way you write about yourself. It's the things you've had to face and overcome. It's all of these things. So there's just absolutely no. So I suppose the best answer is the sauce is for you to be authentic. Be authentic, and then sit back a minute and look at the essays, and don't let ChatGPT write them. Right? Don't let artificial intelligence write who you are. You sit back and think about it, and take some time and respond in kind. Don't respond with answers that you think we want to hear. Respond in ways that are meaningful to you. And that will make all the difference in the world, I think. That may be the sauce. Be your authentic you.
Amen. Are there any mentoring programs at Stanford that help community college students with their Stanford application?
Yeah, community college. We do some community college programs.
I'm going to put that in the chat.
But that staff do. We sometimes we go out to community colleges and do programs. There are mentoring programs.
I'm going to put that in the chat.
What?
The community college stuff.
Yeah, I think the reality is, you have really good resources at the community colleges, I think. And one of the best ones I've seen, this association, by the way, probably does a heck of a good job. And a lot of CBOs do good jobs. But I also think that the honors programs at community colleges really do a good job, because they're trying to prepare students to go on to four-year institutions. And we find them, and we have partnerships we do with the community colleges in California. We do coming out of the honors programs, but we don't really do any systematic application workshops that are campus based, because you can see me, I can't even answer the question when you want to know what the secret sauce is. So I'd be terrible at doing a special. I think, but I'm sure there are other options, and I think maybe you all are a good example of sitting down and working with folks. The one place that I would say is just amazing, and that's Service to School. They do an incredible job of mentoring veterans. They are really good, and there are 28 colleges and universities that are partnered with that organization, and they really do an incredibly good job. So, and then I think generally, things like, well, I don't know if the community college level, but things like Talent Search and other CBOs that are working with folks also engage in some training for applying to college. We don't do it systematically, so I don't want to throw us out there, frankly.
Another question that we have, Dean Shaw, is what if it takes you more than 2 years at community college, or even 5 years to get to that transfer level? Is that bad, or also are there?
Well, there's got to be. That's a great question, because there's got to be. There has to be progression, and certainly if the reason is that I'm raising 2-3 children and working 25 hours a week, and I really want to keep moving, that's a good thing. And if it's a progression over recent time, what we do see is in some cases for people that have had, or students that have had challenges in life, they'll start early and just bomb, or they come out of high school and that's not very strong. We see all of those things, and that's okay, because that's what going to community college is also a second chance. But if you went to community college and didn't do well, and then there's a long period or gap, and then you went back part-time, that's probably not going to, that may be problematic. It's going to be hard. But if you're just going to community college to the extent that you can, and you're also doing all these other things, and that's clear in the application, then that's probably going to be okay. What we want to do, this isn't an easy place. This is a quarter system. It is really hard. From high school or anywhere else, when you come in here and realize you blink and the quarter's almost over, or it's halfway over, you've got to be ready to hit the ground running. And that means you've got to be prepared in terms of your coursework. And so the best thing is to, if you can, be all in the community college. If you can't, then do the best you can to take as many courses as you can in a shorter period of time. And all of the other iterations are more challenging for us.
Awesome. So we do have another question here that asks, is there an advantage from transferring to Stanford from a community college compared to transferring from a four-year university?
Yes, I would say so. I told you 60%. I have a commitment. We have a commitment to community college students. So I think that actually although again, let me put this in context. I'm not going to give you these numbers, but there are a lot of people applying. So but the composition of the transfer class is 60% community college. And that's because we have a commitment to community colleges. So I would assess that it is, what's the word, easier. I don't know if I have a transfer student from Harvard that's has been there 2 years, and they want to major in classics. I go, what? That's crazy. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just because you want to come find the sun. Well, there isn't any, so I'll just tell them that. But community colleges, that's a terminal degree. So we understand that what we want to try to do is give you a chance to go to the next stage. So people applying from four-year institutions, the only time they have pretty good success is when they think their major doesn't exist in the school they're attending. And they prove it. So I think community college kids have a good chance. I mean, a good chance relatively, but it's impossible. It's damn hard to get in. So, I still go back to this. If you don't try, you'll never know. But but I also think you need to be realistic about the fact that it is so competitive. And so if you know that you've got a checkered record, right, then maybe this isn't the right place to go for.
Another question that we have is, what if you had W's on your transcript? Is that a disadvantage? The W with...
We absolutely would like to know why. That's all. Because a lot of people, life gets in the way. I mean, that pandemic, that was the worst 3 years I've ever seen. And, a lot of people, for all kinds of reasons, like they turned the heat off in my house, or, they have to withdraw. But we really should know what that means. And of course, sometimes young people are taking a full curriculum and there are 2 W's in the one term. That calls out to us. What does that mean? And if it's a full term, then we just need to know what caused that. And we have a heart, if it's something that really makes sense, but not. I wouldn't say that. No, that's like we see W's and then we just walk out the door. That's not. We are paying attention to everything.
Another person asks, so I am currently taking courses that will satisfy the transfer requirements of the UCs according to ASSIST. May I know if the same plan will work well for articulation to Stanford as well?
Alice, take it away.
No, we do not have an articulation agreement. And I think I tried to explain this sooner. Your courses may transfer as general units towards degree, but they, in all likelihood, will not transfer as course equivalencies, which means that you cannot apply them uniformly to a major. You're going to wind up doing your major coursework here.
But that's what I said earlier. I said, if you're following that agreement or taking those courses, those are good courses. You're preparing, you're developing. It just means that Berkeley will give you different credits. They'll give you the credits, and you'll be a junior, and we probably won't. So you have to realize that it may be a little bit of a step back. But I'm going to guarantee you, no matter whether that happens or not, we'll blow your mind with our education.
The only thing that I would add is that I tutor calculus to some Berkeley students, and I took all my calculus at a community college, and so if I'm able to do that, then it's a rigorous. I mean, calculus is calculus at MIT, Stanford.
Right, I agree, and you may enroll for the next course. Right, you may come into Stanford and go into Calc 2 or do whatever. You're going to go into a higher level course, and that's super. This isn't that it's wrong or it's that the UCs are wrong. They're the best public university system on earth, practically. So, but we just have different. Our faculty have different expectations. So, yeah. You can teach me in calculus too, by the way. Jobin, so that'd be good.
I've gone all the way through linear and differential equations.
That's good. Yeah.
Is there a way to see what community college courses are actually transferable?
Oh boy, not with my eye. What happens in my operation is I turn it over to the registrar and then pray. So but I don't know, Alice. I don't think there's any typical anything.
No, I think we don't have those kinds of articulation requirements. Our registrar does keep a database of courses that have been approved as equivalencies over time. But remember, our students, not our transfer course class in particular, but our students come from 82 different countries and all over the US. So some schools, if you're local, if you're at a community college up the street, if you're at like Foothill, then we kind of know the catalog quite well, but our students come from all over the place. So there's not a clear chart. Don't count on the chart. It's not how it works.
And I think that's a decision you have to make, right? Which is fine. You have to make a decision as a student. I want to have this pathway, and I can go right into Cal or right into wherever you are or nationwide because I've met these expectations, and I will finish in, step right. I'm going to go into the junior year and probably be able to go on into the major. And, if that's imperative to you, if time is of the essence, then that's a choice that you should make, which is fine.
There is a two-part question. In what ways is applying for transfer from a community college different from the first years applying to Stanford? And then the second part of that question is, does the admission office weigh parts of the application when it comes to transfer students, as in differently? Do they weigh it differently?
Yeah, the first question is, you're at different stages of your life, basically. And so we spend in the high school side, we're looking at we're drilling down in your high school transcript, and at the college level we're looking at that plus. And then the farther you get into the community college or farther away from high school, we diminish the value of high school. That is the record itself. But we also ask a lot of the questions the same. what matters to you and why, because we care about that. So we take a holistic approach to all of our applicant pools. And we look at all of the information, and we do look at the responses. I think in the transfer realm, the life experiences are, they play a bigger role, because in reality, we celebrate a little bit of the non-traditional experience. So you heard the age range. Well, that age range at every level reflects somebody who went and did something else. And so in that way, I think, our transfers generally and their maturity level is much higher in their sensibilities and even their reasons why they, where they are in their life. They're far more, I think, Alice, generally, I think they're really committed and embrace the opportunity to have an education like this. They go, oh my gosh, I never dreamed 10 years ago that this would be how my life was turning out. And no, we read that, we see it in the way they share. But a lot of the, many of the questions are similar or the same. But we're waiting. We still look at the academic record. In both cases, we look at that. But we also, in both cases, look at the story. And that's why we can have such breadth and depth and diversity and socioeconomic diversity and all the rest. Because what we do, which I think is unique, is that there's no feeder system in our work. And so when Stanford looks at an applicant, they look at the applicant exactly where they are, and exactly the school they are, and exactly the community that they're living in. And we don't compare it. We don't say, oh, well, they went to, ooh, and they get the ha. No, they don't. They have to, everything is relevant to what you've experienced as an individual and as a human being. And that's cool, because that means we can have thousands of high schools represented, and what I tell you, 50 colleges and universities, because we're always right where they are. And I think that matters as well.
We have a three-part question here. So
they're getting longer. This feels like the SAT, for God's sake. Okay, question. Okay.
Yeah. So if my GPA is not very high, what can I do to increase my chances of being accepted? And are there many successful examples of this situation? Is the admission rate related to the major I choose?
Yeah, the first question is tough. Yeah, tough. I mean, sprinklings of B's are good, but this is it's tough to get in. And if there's a lot of variability, you need to step back because that matters. The foundation of what we do is your academic outcome, where you are. That's a foundational characteristic, and I think. And the second question was, I'm sorry, I've got so tied up in that one.
Yeah, no worries. So it was asking, are there many successful examples of this situation?
Oh yeah, well, of course, everybody can recreate themselves. Absolutely. And we see that in the pool, especially when the situation was some years ago. I see it, they went to high school, they didn't do very well, a bunch of C's, whatever. And then they were in the military for 8 years. And you see them sprinkling along the way, that you see this sort of amazing trajectory, or any number of other examples like that. So if it's happened, but it's when it's more recent and it's more variable, that's where it becomes problematic. That is, we don't hold you accountable for the far back or whatever, or turning. Others go out and do a career, and then they go, I don't want to play this guitar forever. I really love physics. And then they go back to community college and start nailing it, and become very competitive and go, wow, they recreate themselves. And but I think it's hard. I think my response is it's really hard to say that if there's a lot of issues going on at the moment or in recent years or over the transcript in general, can they be successful? You bet. Can you be successful? You bet you can. It's just you might not get into Stanford. So what? There are other options. Go pick some of the others and take advantage of them.
And then and the other question was just asking, does Stanford admit by major? Is there like specific percentage rates?
No, we're admitting you to Stanford and then praying to God and everybody else that Alice can manage helping you through this, the challenges. No, we admit to the university. Now we look at I would say we do look at the major. You know, if you're hell bent on being in mechanical engineering or, you know, I mean, we look at it, but we don't admit to it. We just admit and then you can follow your dreams.
And I'd just like to jump in and say a lot of students change their minds
they do.
Once they get here. There are things you can do at Stanford that just may not have ever been on your radar until you get here. And that's okay. You come, you change your mind, and we figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe our objective in life is to have you be happy, you know, to find your way. And when you graduate from this place, there's nothing, just if you're happy with the trajectory you took, that's all that counts, because that means your life's going to be happy or happier. I can't guarantee it all the way, but
yeah. So a lot of people are asking you about the credit, you know, and I just posted this in the chat. There is a website on the registrar's office that has a database of previous schools. So look up your school and courses.
That's great. Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you.
But keep in mind, not like these are just schools where this has been done. Credit has been assessed, I think, within the last 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
We keep this database is kept very current and it's very incomplete. And if your school is not on it, that does not mean
that's right.
that Stanford will not take your credit. This is just a working tool that our registrar uses. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and it has a deadline on it. So some of them expire like 2024. So let's say you're applying next year and you said, and then if they change it, don't show up and say, well, I said that 2 years ago. So it changes. It's a fluid process.
Yeah.
A living document.
Do AP high school courses remain relevant when considering a community college transfer student admission application?
Yeah, here they are absolutely relevant if, in fact, we decide that your story is so compelling, we'll take you after the first year. In other words, let's just say you applied and we've got a record just for 1 year. We're gonna drop back into the high school record. So we're going to be more, and the further we get away from the high school record, the less we're going to probably emphasize it. So, but we ask for it. We do want to have it, but it doesn't have a lot of influence. And often, you know, we might see you're doing a heck of a lot better in community college, and that's all we want to see. We want to see you've turned the corner. Yeah.
I'll also add, it is not always to your advantage to move AP credit into Stanford. So part of what I do over the summer is talk to individual students about whether that's even something that they want to do. If you have to choose between community college credit and AP credit, there are reasons to do one and not the other, depending on which APs you did, what you want to study, and what you studied in community college. It can be very bespoke, but you do get one-on-one guidance to figure out what the right move is for you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of variability on the AP credit. We really don't even look at below fives, really, and that's pretty tough. But you know, you might be able to that might meet a distribution requirement. So yeah, and they don't fade away.
Awesome. So is it worth it to take a gap year to prepare for extracurricular activities like research experience to get ready for transfer?
That's an interesting question. I don't, if you have time, I mean, gap years are, I mean, gap years, I don't mind gap years, although then you stop going to school. And, you know, at the level of the community college or the transfer level, one is always hopes, and of course, means that your life was perfect, but that the gap year is between graduating from high school and then going to college. I think if you have a reason to take a year off, just do it. I mean, if there's something, but don't do it because it's going to put you in a better position. That's probably not. But if you have, we've had cases sometimes where we have somebody who's done this incredible internship full time, and and then they came back and applied, and that just embellished their record. But if it's to take I don't know, to try to search for that one place to do an internship, I wouldn't. That's, to me, it only has to do with whether you decide you want to stop out for a while.
For the extracurricular section, do we mention only the extracurriculars we've done in community college or college at all, or can we also include high school?
Sure, whatever you. But I think you should not. One of the great traumas and challenges in this work is that somebody has determined that really the best position you can be in is a list of 3 pages of extracurricular activities. In freshman year, I volunteered for the X. I think really what's important for you to share are things that you are committed to and have done and have a sustained commitment to. And primarily we're going to, in some cases, the students in the community colleges, we often really see strong leaders. They've been part of all and have done really incredible work, or they've gone outside of that and volunteer in the community. Those things are very valuable. When you go back to high school and say I was the head of my prom, that's fine, but it's not. I think it's better to share with us those engagements which really were meaningful to you, and to keep the list relatively short, because the longer they get, the more we just go, oh my goodness. So do what makes what matters to you.
Another question we have is only one supplemental letter of recommendation allowed, or are we allowed to request 2 people to submit letters of recommendation?
I think our rule is 1, because
okay.
we're asking for voices from the school itself. And I think if I let you have 2 or 3, that's kind of unfair. So I think we have a rule that it's 1 supplemental rec is what we'd like.
And then,
and that's not required. It's just that because that somebody you've worked with or for, or who really knows you.
another question we have is, how many people read each application?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when we get down to all of the applications are read at least once, and for competitive applications twice, and that we winnow it down. So, but I rest assured that the officers that I have reading this are talented and rehearsed and able and they have responsibility for territory and around the country. So they do a very good job. But certainly we touch files multiple times if they're competitive and they're going to come into the committee room.
When answering questions in the application, must we be more inclined to be professional, or can we just share very personal life?
Oh, don't be professional, please. Yeah, just be yourself. Just be. That's what's so frustrating, because you go to the library and how I got into college. You read 16 books and you lose yourself in the whole process, or you ask for somebody else to provide. It's so much more. It's so much better when you just do your best job, but sit down and take it seriously. And really, it is true. If you really were to answer these questions as just sort of a fun way to think about yourself, it should be a positive experience. I have students write me and say, I'm so glad that, but the problem is, the difference is the authentic selves get displaced by the idea that there's some magic formula in which, or some magic way to write the perfect essay. And it's not true. It's just wrong. And it gets in the way of your ability to be who you are. So, and especially in this cohort, the transfer cohort, I love reading them. They're you're all, you have really interesting perspectives, and you ought to bring them. And things that knocked you over maybe along the way, whatever, just let it, bring it on. Yeah.
We have another question that says, so how about people that worked before going to community college? Should they mention that, or do you only care about
yes, yes, absolutely. That's your life. Of course. Don't what matters to you. I hope that's the message. Be yourself, be authentic, respond. If you had to work for a couple of years or 2 years, or whatever, we don't judge that. We just want to know it, and we want to know, and that has an impact on your life, no matter what, no matter where. We don't ask you to be anybody or anything other than who you are. And we love who you are. That's, you don't have to be it just drives me nuts, because, we have all these role models in the world that are superstars. Get out of here. People that are really cool are people who are warm and authentic and have spirit and emotion and all the rest. Tell your story. That's okay.
I think, Giselle, you're next.
Yes. So our other question that we have here is, what about people that went to high school out of the US and you can't access them? What should they do?
Well, tell us. We don't like to waive it, because we also like to verify graduation. But if you have a story, you should probably send us a letter and let us know, or update that says, I can't get this transcript. And that might make sense. Say it might be you're in a war zone, or the school's gone, or whatever. But let us know that. And we can waive it, but our responsibility is we have a legal responsibility to verify high school graduation. And we have nothing. You go, oh boy. So it could be we'll turn back around and say you need to take a proficient, or a GED or proficiency exam, or a high school exam to prove that. So I'd try to get it if you can, and if not, tell us why.
We have another question here. This is a two-part. So it's asked, Dean Shaw, so you mentioned how there was a holistic review process. So what are some of the most important areas that the admissions team considers? And then should particular emphasis be placed on extracurriculars, research, etc.?
Up to you. My message is, you respond in ways that are important to you. You're still looking for the formula. You're still looking at what's the formula, what's the secret sauce, and there isn't any. So you should respond to those the way your heart tells you to. The way that is meaningful to you, and let the cards fall where they may. You'll like yourself better. And sure, if there are things you've done outside of your schooling that really matter to you, and it's like my granddaughter loves the bass guitar, and God, I've told her, just write about the bass guitar the whole time. I mean, because that's really what she loves to do, but yeah, there's no more weight than that. You're all looking for weights and measures, and it really is the whole. It's the whole you coming through the recommendations, through the way you write about yourself, through your record. It's and it just sort of it wells up. When you become if you're going to be competitive, and that just means that we hope most of the students might not be all of them. But we hope most are going to be those that are just listening to themselves and reading those questions and saying, this is the way I want to respond to this, and not worrying about, well, what is it they want to hear? Because if you write to what we want to hear, we probably won't hear it.
Another person asked, so what kind of support are at Stanford for first-generation students?
Take it away, Alice.
Lots. We have some summer bridge programs that our transfer students are eligible to apply for. These are programs which can assist you with your on-ramp. There is something called, we have a FLY office, First Gen Low Income Partnership Office. There's something called, so that's our team that supports our low income students. They do something called FLY-SO, which is right before new student orientation. We have a special pre-orientation program that our FLY students can sign up for that gives you an overview of all the support resources available, all of the different community centers that have offerings that you can utilize. It introduces you to our financial aid office. We have a phenomenal program called Mind Over Money, which is financial literacy education, which many of our FLY students find extremely beneficial to participate in. So we have FLY-SO, we have the FLY office, which has a lounge on campus. You can go, they have all kinds of, you can do we have drop-in advising hours there. There's a textbook library where you can borrow textbooks or exchange textbooks with other students to save on the expense. There are funds to help you purchase a laptop. There are funds to help you, I believe, get your bicycle. A lot of Stanford students ride bikes because our campus is broad and spread out, and it's mayhem between, yeah, Dean Shaw's pointing to the background. The bell rings when classes switch, and suddenly there's 1,000 bikes on the path, and then it's quiet again. We have, there's a team of advisors in my office who really specialize in FLY issues and FLY concerns. We've got great relationships with campus partners. I think I already mentioned bridge programs. And many of the, I mean, Dean Shaw already talked about our financial aid offerings, but there are also all kinds of waivers and subsidies that are available so that if there are opportunities that you want to take advantage of, you should not be put off if there's a fee associated with it. We all work together to make sure that things are accessible for people. Once you're here, you're here, and we're committed to helping you get the absolute most out of your education.
Another question we have is, so what are the best resources for newly admitted transfers on Stanford's campus?
Best resources for newly admitted transfers. When the admissions office gives me a list of our newly admitted transfers, the transfer students currently on campus have a club called the Stanford Transfer Network. And I work with them. We create a spreadsheet. The currently matriculated transfers sign up to volunteer for our welcome phone-a-thon. So when you are accepted to Stanford, you get a call from a currently matriculated student who shares some of your interests, and they'll call you up. welcome, congratulate you on your acceptance and ask if you have any questions. So you get that one-off, that personal individual welcome. You are then invited to make an appointment with me, regardless of whether or not you've accepted your offer of admission. I will meet with every admitted transfer student one-on-one to discuss your preparation. Tell me about what you've studied, what your interests are. I can often look at your current transcript and see what you've done and talk to you about what your onboarding might look like, what strategies we might want to think about, what majors you might be interested in. I may suggest some other things right away. And this is intended to help you make your decision about whether you want to accept our offer. This summer, for the second time, and hopefully this will be something we can continue to offer, Stanford has a writing requirement. All of our students are required to do our Write 1 and then Write 2, which is public speaking and presentation organization. This can be waived based on transfer credit, but one of the first things I do is I look and see if it's likely that you have something that will meet that criteria. If you do not, we are, for the second year, running a pilot where you can take a remote version of that class for free over the summer to clear a little space in your schedule the following year so that you have a little bit more room to explore. And as I think, as Dean Shaw said earlier, and hit the ground running. So we have that pilot program. There are workshops throughout the summer where I will go over things like, here's how you create your study list. Here's how you research majors. Here's how you think about academic planning. Here's what you need to know about financial aid. And I bring in special guests. Every transfer student goes through new student orientation, just like our traditional students who are coming right out of high school. And there's an approaching Stanford process that begins and runs all over the summer. It lives in Canvas, which is our online teaching platform, but that will give you everything you need to know about campus housing, meal plans. How do you get your mail? When do you move in? What are the rules? What are the different resources? What are the offices? It's a general introduction to Stanford, to our culture, to our resources, to opportunities, to the campus itself. We have summer bridge programs, some of which are accessible to transfer students. We have the Fly SO. We have backpacking trips and outdoor trips that happen prior to new student orientation, which can help you make friends, start to develop a sense of community if that is attracted to you. If you are an older or non-traditional student and you need to move in sooner, if you are a parent and you are bringing kids and your kids need to enroll in school, you can move to campus early and we will help you get settled so that your kids can start the school year on time. So all of these things happen. We have a phenomenal new student orientation. New student orientation is one of our biggest events of the year. It's campus-wide. It is about community building, learning your way around, figuring out how things work, getting yourself set. Transfer students, first year traditional frosh have to wait until new student orientation to sign up for classes. Our transfer students are allowed to sign up for classes at the same time as upperclassmen. So there will be a lot of opportunity for one-on-one academic advising over the summer so that you know what classes you want to take in the fall and you're able to sign up for those classes. That's just what happens over the summer. We have, once you get here, we have the Transfer Club, which is a great student group. They do cookouts and barbecues on campus, I think like once a month, but they do other stuff as well. We have students working in El Centro, which is our community center for Spanish-speaking students. We have transfer students who work in the Fly office. We have transfer students everywhere. Transfer students on student government. And we also have a class that's called Transfer 101. There's a version that's Frosh 101. We have a version that's Transfer 101. And that's a unit-bearing class that you can take fall. It's not required, but you can take it fall of your first year. And that is getting together with other transfers once a week and talking about your questions or your challenges or how things are going. And again, it is about providing that individualized guidance so that you can get the most you can out of your education, which to amplify something Dean Shaw said earlier, is not about cramming in as many classes as possible. It's about finding your authentic interests and needs and ensuring that you can explore them and develop them to the best of your ability with some of the best resources in the world.
Yeah, this is just something, a clarification, and can you please clarify that again? If you have kids, your kids get to come with you, they don't get to stay home. A couple of people put in there that says you can't bring your children and your spouses with you. I just clarify that.
No, we have family housing on campus. You would not live in a dormitory, you would live in graduate apartments on campus, but you can bring your spouse, you can bring your kids.
Right, yeah. No, actually, one of the people that's speaking on the 6th has 2 kids, and I just wanted to hear from both of you, so that there's some misconception.
I'll actually share this with you. We have a currently matriculated student who is a father of 5, and he brought his 5 kids and his wife, and his wife is a student at San Jose. I have another student right now who's got 3 kids, and he's living on campus with his wife and his 3 kids. So it's absolutely doable. And and in fact, a number of our older non-traditional students are parents. I've also had several transfer students in the last few years who have taken leave so that they can have a baby and then they come back. And if you bring your children to Stanford, they attend local schools, and those schools start sooner than we do. So it's important that you move in soon, so earlier than the rest of your class, so that your kids can start school on time.
Another question we have is, so does Stanford accept community college transfer students who are pursuing a second bachelor's degree?
No. We have a requirement for 2 years, and no, that would be your background already is fully sort of. You already have a college degree, so you need to look at graduate school, but no second bachelor's, no.
And what is the average time that transfer students can stay on campus?
You were both smiling because we know it. We want you to do it in 2 years, but we probably can. We see students stay for 3. That's kind of pushing the outer limits, and then we have some that have stayed a little longer. So but one of the issues at play here is financial aid. We run out of aid, so the students have to be, and of course they've been aided in the community colleges possibly too, or federal aid and so forth. So it's very important for folks to know that they have to be very cognizant of how they're financing their education and what the limitations are. But we go back to this whole issue of they thought they were ready and were going to come right into their junior year. They all had the right attitude, and then we said no. So because we said no, we're going to give them some more time to get through. But it's not endless. You can't come here and live the rest of your life like I have, actually. So that's too bad.
Same. I came for a postdoc and never left.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, there's a thing at Stanford is like stay there forever or there's some acronym that a lot of people that have been at Stanford say. I don't remember it, but.
Well, my problem is I've stayed at 5 places forever. So it's just higher education. But if you're a student, there isn't any category called the eternal student, especially the eternal student who's supported. We're all students, but the eternal student who needs financial aid and so forth. So, yeah.
Another student asked, how many times can I apply to Stanford?
Well, we have a 2-strike rule. So you could apply a second time, but then we would probably write you and say, I think it's time. So twice, but I think pay attention to the first one. And something would have to be absolutely significant that would happen if you were to apply again, that would be different than what your record suggested in the first go around. But we in the if you try to apply a third time, you'd get a letter from me saying it's not going to be feasible. And we wouldn't suggest you use that plan, by the way. If you just yeah.
Does applying for a competitive major decrease your chances of getting accepted?
No, we're applying. No, we really are. We are admitting to the university, and I like to think that all of our majors are competitive. Mm-hmm. I think the one major, and this may be that is so overwhelmed that I think the background has to be pretty strong is CS. It's just. I mean, there's so much demand; it's just stunning. But if you have good reasons to want to pursue a major in computer science, and you're taking the courses, and you might have some things that you can tell us that have brought you to this place, then so be it. I don't think it excludes you, but it's just that there are some impact. There really are some impacted major, but you got to get into the major after you get here. So it's Alice would give you good counsel about the way forward after you arrive. But we admit to Stanford. We don't admit to the major. And we might decide you said you wanted this major, but we love you so much we took you anyway. Right? So there you have it. It's because we want you here.
Giselle, okay. One question, and Sebastian will ask the last question.
I guess Sebastian.
Giselle has, yeah.
Yes. So my next question is, if you're interested in biology or STEM, but your home country or life didn't give you the sort of research opportunities that people get in first world countries, if we still demonstrate our interest in this major over time, will this negatively impact our application?
No, I mean, no. We look at everything in context. So, a lot of people don't have opportunities to have access or internships. Maybe they're low-income first generation or from another country or whatever. Recently, I mean, I think those are valuable, but sometimes I find that a lot of people run into those just so they can get into college. They don't do it for the right reason. They just do it because they read the book and the book said you should go do an internship in this lab. Or really, the reality is we know some students can't, and that's okay. We're primarily looking at your academic record and your aspiration. Certainly, we also have cases where individuals have found their way to a place and had this experience was mind-boggling by working with somebody in a place. But there's all sorts of variability here, and we want, as I said earlier, we're trying to take you where you are. So if you didn't have any opportunities in your home country, then tell us. This is I immigrated here and I haven't had those opportunities, but this is why I love X, and this is why I continue to want to pursue it.
Thank you.
All righty, well, we have one last question for you all. So my community college doesn't have an honors program. Should I move to one that does have an honors program?
Oh boy, I get myself in trouble all the time. I say, no, just go where it's convenient. The answer is no. I mean, if we're going to look at the college and try to understand the nature of the college, and if you're somewhere and no, you shouldn't move. I'm sorry I brought it up. That's the trouble with this kind of work, is that you bring one thing up and suddenly it becomes the rule of the land.
It becomes the proverbial.
I was using that as an example of something you might be involved with, but no, we review everybody in context. So wherever we are, we're going to review it. and try to understand the nature of the institution and where it is and all of the above and where you live and who you are. And so, no, I wouldn't make that kind of a choice. And again, that suggests that, I mean, the only option you have or only objective you have is to get into Stanford, and that's the wrong objective. You should go on into higher education, into college, other, four-year institution, and take your shot. If you don't try, then you'll never know. But have other options, and you'll be fine. Go to graduate school here. Except if you're Alice, you go, you might go to grad school and take a postdoc here and then just stay forever. I don't know. I have to talk to her about that. All right. Well, thank you.
Any final words of wisdom from Dr. Petty and Dean Shaw before we go? Because I'm sure we could keep you till 10 o'clock at night.
No, and
I'm actually doing this at work, so.
Yeah, I'm actually stunned that anybody stayed, because I don't know why I'm an old traditionalist that on Friday afternoon you should just stop. But I guess I would say, give it your best shot. Go on, move on, go to the next stage. That's so meaningful to me. Go to college, stay in college, and then move to the next level. And then if you're still loving that academic and pride, then go to the next level. And keep learning. It's going to benefit you. So it's exciting. Don't say no or never. Just say yes, I will, and move on. And wherever that might take you, I think you will win. You will win.
And Dr. Betts, any?
I can't top that. That was well said. Yeah.
All right, thanks.